MotoAmerica on beIN Sports is presented by Dunlop and the all-new Sport Max Q3 Plus. Now you don't have to sacrifice mileage to get top performance. Dunlop Q3 Plus. And powered by Kawasaki. Let the good times roll. Back here at Sonoma Raceway in Northern California as the Motul Superbike class and Bazaz Superstock 1000 class get ready to go racing. There's Roger Hayden, who is a little dinged up after yesterday's incident, but this rider right here has had it all under control all weekend long. Yeah, he has had it definitely under control. And that said, though, Greg, Roger's only 2/10 off this morning. He went 37.5, I believe he went this morning. And here's a good look at our Dunlop starting grid. Cameron Beaubier, 35.2. Matthew Skultz, Superstock bike, running second overall. Roger Hayden third. I expect to see more out of Matthew today. Jake Lewis, my pick to maybe do the double. Jason DeSalvo, you see him get moved up. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Jason DeSalvo fifth on the grid. Bobby Fong sixth on the grid. It's going to help Bobby coming from the second row today. Jake Gagne, row 3. Tony Elias right in the middle of that row. Josh Hayes starts on the outside of row 3. Row 4, Josh Herron, Kyle Wyman, and Sylvain Barrier is going to round out our row 4. We're going to go back to row 5. We got Danny Eslick. Dave Anthony was part of our Kawasaki profile just now. Hayden Gillum. Then we got Bryce Brents, Tyler O'Hara. I saw Cameron Peterson in street clothes, so I don't think he's going to start this. You heard David Anthony say that he's got a bit of an illness. Yep. Sebastian Ferrer, Wyatt Ferris, Jeremy Coffey, Matt Orange, Barrett Long, Jason Lauritsen back there in row 8. And go a little bit further back, got Sam Verderico, Max Flinders, and Roy Holster. And you saw a couple guys there that run the AFM series up here. Wyatt Ferris, I believe, is leading the Formula Pacific Championship, if I'm not mistaken. So got some local flavor up here, as we always do at Sonoma. All right, for our Motul last-minute report, let's go down to Hannah.
Now, we were just chatting a little bit earlier about the incident that took place yesterday with Josh Herron and Roger Hayden. And as a penalty, Josh Herron will now be starting from the 4th row in the 10th spot. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes.
All right. That's our Motul left. So he lost 6 positions. Yep. In that penalty assessed by AMA/MotoAmerica. So that's going to be the penalty for that. And he's got pace, Greg. He's got pace to be up front. Absolutely. Right. So here we go. Lights on and off. And we're going our final race of the weekend here at Sonoma Raceway. And we're underway in a good launch by Cameron Beaubier. And on the outside, it's Roger Hayden. And I'll tell you who else got a great launch, Greg. Tony Elias. You can see him. He's in about 6th or maybe going to be 5th as they head up to the top of the hill. But Cameron Beaubier did exactly what he needed to do. Roger Hayden right there in 2nd. Matthew Skultz gets his Yamalube bike off the R1 off the line perfect in 3rd, and it looked like Bobby Fong followed him in 4th. So Superstock bikes running 3rd, 4th. Jake Lewis 5th. Tony Elias already looking for a way through on Lewis as they come down the hill. The class of the field in Superstock 1000 right there, the number 11 bike, Yamalube Westby Racing. Number 50, Bobby Fong. Quicksilver Latest Motorsports and M4X Star Suzuki's battle of the oil companies right now too, yes, Jason, with Jake Lewis back there in the 5th spot. And there goes Herron. Josh Herron trying to run around the outside of Jake Gagne right now. He's got his work cut out for him today to try to get up to the front, but he shows just a little bit of patience. He's going to be able to do that because he's got Elias right in front of him, Josh Hayes right in front of him. He's got a bunch of Superstock bikes that are going to be defending those guys. But look, Cameron Beaubier is starting to break away just a little bit already, Greg. It's going to take Raj a lap or so to get his race speed underneath him. Like I said, it's a big advantage when you could do all 22 laps yesterday. And yesterday he only got about 5 turns in. So he's gonna start charging because I know Raj. He's raced for a long time, but we'll see if he's able to bridge this gap. Just behind Tony Elias is Josh Hayes, who made some big changes to his motorcycle. As the 24 is trying to go up underneath the inside of Jake Lewis. So Tony Elias, another spot early on in this race. But Jake Lewis knows after yesterday, or he feels that he can race the pace of Tony Elias. So we'll see if Jake Lewis is going to stick on the back of him and try to repass him. Yep, and what he's got to do right now while the field's so bunched together, he's got to make moves right now. So, and he knows that, obviously, with a lot of racecraft in Tony Elias's checkbook there. So he knows, Greg, that he's got to make these passes early and get to that front before Cameron gets too far away. Bobby Fong yesterday had it all and then lost it. Jason, you had a chance to talk to Bobby Fong. What was going on in his mind after that race? The thing is, I wanted to talk to him about a lot of his crashes have been kind of the same. They've just been kind of mid-corner and then tipping the bike back. And you can see right here yesterday is where he had his problem. And he just looked at me and said, Jay, honestly, I wish I knew what was going on. His crashes
caution qualifying yesterday was through the apex turn 2 after the apex. So there just might be something a little bit missing. And you can see that bike backing in. That's another thing him and I talked about this morning about how much his bike backs in. And he says, I really don't want to back the bike in at all. He goes, I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I want my bike and my wheels to be in line. So it's something that him and that team are continuing to work on. He said the bike's better than it's been all year long. At the beginning of the year, if you would have taken this track and said that this would be a place that he would feel competitive, he said he probably didn't think he would be at all, but he has been. And he's right on the back of Matthew Scults right now. And both these guys are on the back of Raj, and you can see Cameron Beaubier has done exactly what he needs to do. And here comes Tony. Tony's not close enough this time to do something with Bobby Fong, but guaranteed next lap. And if he's that close again going into turn 10 and 11, he will try to just go slide up underneath him and get that bike stopped at the apex.
Roger Hayden, we've talked about that earlier on. Just really sorting out the laps here.
35.9 for Cameron Beaubier that last lap, Greg, right off the bat into the 35s. Raj 36.7, which I believe is his quickest lap of the weekend. So, you know, again, this is where Raj doesn't have the benefit of yesterday so much.
Oh, Roger Hayden down! It looked like for a moment that Roger Hayden must have lost the front going in there, Jason. Sorry about that.
Yep.
In turn number 3, so I saw Roger Hayden, and there he is. He is down and out.
Just a horrible weekend for this guy. I mean, just horrible. And that's really, Greg, what I'm talking about. He was, you know, coming into the second day, you know you got to be pushing. Everybody's got a day under their belt. And it's a real shame that just happened to Raj. And now you got Superstock bikes running second and third again with Tony right behind them in fourth. But poor Raj, just a horrible weekend for him. Last year it was Jersey, which was the bad weekend, and this year it's Sonoma Raceway.
Roger Hayden, he's talked about just wanting to stay in it till the end, give himself a chance. And this weekend, it was out of his control yesterday, and this time he just looked like he lost possibly the front end of the motorcycle. So Roger Hayden out of this race, and this is the battle now for second spot as Matthew Scults seems to have figured out what was going on in his head. It wasn't anything to do with the motorcycle setup. It wasn't any bumping and grinding that knocked anything free yesterday. He just said his head just wasn't in it when he showed up to race.
Look at Tony. Look at him, Greg. He just is so good at just diving down the inside, parking the bike in the middle of the turn, driving off the corner. He came from such a long way back right there. I was watching it, and he literally came from about 5 bike lengths back. Bobby Fong broke in there. Bobby Fong's as deep of a breaker as anybody that we have here. And Tony was 5 or 6 bike lengths behind, but he's got this thing about just being able to do that, and that's exactly what he's able to do. Now he's up to third, and he's just got done watching Raj fall down in front of him. That means his point gap is going to be even bigger.
The only person that can claw back points in this championship that means something to him is Cam Beaubier. But Beaubier, who's leading right now, is back in this championship 75 points. So if you look at the lap times right now, Beaubier is able to just really uncork him about a second faster than Tony Elias, although Tony hasn't had clear track just yet. So we'll have to see if the Spaniard can get around the South African rider. Superbike versus Superstock 1000 machine.
Well, it's going to happen in turn 11, Greg. It's the spot where you can actually release the lever. It gives you the most room. There's more runoff there than anywhere, so you can run the bike wide if you have to get in there. So he's going to just do his best to stay behind Matthew. If they come down through here, he's going to do his absolute best. And then he's going to go, ooh, man, his bike jumped out from underneath him. So he's got to try to stay somewhat close. And Josh Hayes right now is going behind and getting past Jake Lewis himself. And this is where Tony's really good. He's close enough this time, Greg. He's even closer than he was to Bobby Fong. Now, you're going to see him come into your picture. He's going to dart straight to the inside, go back down to first gear, get the bike stopped right there. Now, all he's got to focus on is getting through the apex of that corner. And he's got the pass made, Greg.
I like it. I like Matthew Scults there. For a moment, he tried to just get around that corner quickly. And by the way, how slow is that corner of the racetrack? Well, we're hearing that turn number 11 is about 18 and a half miles per hour. Can you imagine going 18 miles an hour and having your knee on the ground like that and being in control of your motorcycle? That's what these superbikes have to deal with.
Yeah, and it's pretty bumpy in there as well. And so for him to be able to do that, but see, the commitment is if he runs it in there tighter like that, Greg, he's just got his bike upright for longer. He's just committing to doing a lot of his braking while he's upright. Trail braking into 11 can be really tricky. But by the time he's got to the apex of that corner, he's already got all of his mid-corner speed controlled. And there's Raj's bike. And you can see it here right out of the left-hand part of your screen. You're going to see a lot of dust. Greg, that was a great call on your part. You see Raj just lose the front. Looked like he was, if anything, Greg, a tinge wide going in there. But he was pushing, trying to get that to the lead. And you caught that, and that was good. I didn't see that when it happened. But he just lost the front there. It was a good look at all the Yoshimura team. But this guy right now got it all on his own. 3.8 seconds out front. He's put his head down. He's pulled away. And I'm sure he'll see on his board that'll probably say, it might say number 24 in second when he comes through. So he's going to want to keep his head down just a little bit longer.
Now, I know Tony Elias is still trying to find the setup for this very tricky Sonoma Raceway, but when Tony has someone in his sights, even this deep into the race, only 5 laps in, he's a hard one to shake. He's like a bulldog. He latches on, and he'll just try to reel him in.
And you make such a good point, Greg, and I'll tell you the other reason why that is because he's got such a gigantic point lead now that he's riding really, he's just riding for free, if you know what I mean, in the sense that he can really just let things go. He's got over a 2-race lead coming into this race. He just saw his closest guy crash out in front of him. Even if he was to have a big problem in this race, he'd still have a 2-race lead in the championship. So he's really got nothing to lose by going and trying to chase down Cameron Beaubier.
Looking at Josh Hayes, Monster Energy Yamalube, Yamaha Factory Racing Machine, and Bobby Fong in front of him. The one thing that I talked to Hayes about is they made an adjustment to his motorcycle, Jason, where they wanted to give him more room to move around on the motorcycle. He felt very cramped at this racetrack, and so what they did is they put on Cam Beaubier's seat, which lowered it 5 millimeters, but it was a little bit too much. He felt like that even though the seat was flat, that he felt like it was kind of moving him back.
Yep.
So right before this race, his team added some spacers on the back end of that tail section to kind of move it up a little bit and get it flat for him. And he felt if I could just move around on the motorcycle a little more, it's going to give him a better chance of moving towards the front. Hayes up the inside.
There's something to be said about being comfortable. He's going to run really wide, Greg. He tried to get by underneath Bobby Fong there. He just wasn't able to make that pass. He made it clean, but he just wasn't able to get the bike slowed down there and make it stick.
So Bobby Fong holds on to 4th spot overall, 2nd in the Superstock 1000 class.
And I'm just looking at the last lap times. The leaders, 1st and 2nd, did relatively the same spot. And there you go. There's Josh Herron right now running around his 7th spot. 36.8 was Josh's quickest lap. So, and when you look at the lap times of the guys in front of him, the last lap there, maybe something happened to Josh. He was a little bit slower than the guys in front of him. And but he's right there. He still sees that podium up in front of him. Cameron Beaubier stretched his lead out to 4.1 seconds now. So Tony Elias wasn't able to make any inroads on that after he's come through the 2nd.
Josh Hayes looks like he's having a lot of fun. I asked him about his race yesterday, and he said no big dramas. Just didn't feel like he could push as hard as he wanted to just because of that comfort. So mistake-free race for Hayes yesterday. Netted him a podium position, but number 4, 4-time Superbike champ Josh Hayes behind a couple of Superstock riders right now. Monster Energy Yamalube, Yamaha Factory Racing, just ahead, or just behind the Quicksilver Latest Motorsports Kawasaki of Bobby Fong.
And this is really what we expected out of Matthew Scults yesterday. So, you know, it was interesting to know if there really was anything wrong yesterday. He said there wasn't, which was great. But obviously he's a lot more comfortable today.
Yeah, and I asked Chuck Giacchetto too. I said, would anything happen to the bike? And he said, absolutely not. It was just Matthew. He just took responsibility for it, and we're moving on.
That's why that team gets along so well, though. They really never put blame on each other, those guys. I've seen it on the other hand, too. We've had Chuck tell us, hey, there's some things that we did to hurt Matthew today. And when you have that kind of open dialogue with your crew chief and a rider and the rest of your team, boy, it sure does make it easy to move forward and make progress. And that team's really tight knit. So looking at this guy though, really he has not put a wheel wrong all weekend. Greg running 37 flat that last lap, still able to do what he needs to be able to do out front. I can see now Jake Lewis. He's looking at our restart. The start, and he just got the most perfect start of the weekend again. Just absolutely perfect.
And you know, a lot went into that because, Jason, when we go to different racetracks, sometimes the race start pole position is actually on the outside and you can sweep around. You can see that when Cameron Beaubier started, he went over to the right to get a run at turn number 1.
Yep.
He is not a big fan of where pole sits on this racetrack, but he was able to make it work for him by getting that great launch. So it's Cam Beaubier, Tony Elias in 3rd on the racetrack, and leading the Bazaz Superstock 1000 class is Yamalube Westby Racing. This rider right here, Matthew Scults out of South Africa. And Jason, he has has looked good all weekend long. But, you know, there are some things that you see in his riding that just look so like he's just an aged veteran, right?
Guy's so simple. And he really is a bit of a veteran to racing. Right? I mean, he won a championship last year in his homeland, and the team saw him at Road America last year. They were looking at when Josh Day unfortunately got hurt as bad as he did. They were looking for a possible replacement, and Matthew Skoltz fit the type for him, and that whole team has done such a great job of putting him and making him comfortable on that bike. And you can see Josh Hayes has got by Bobby Fong now, and they get a look at Josh Herron a little further back now. Kyle Wyman got Sylvain Berrier going to the inside of him, making a big time move down going into turn 7. That's a great pass by Sylvain Berrier. And just behind them, you can see Jake Gagne, you can see Danny Eslick. I mean, our field now is just so packed with incredible riders. You know, when you look back and see Danny Eslick running 11th and Jake Gagne running 10th. But Sylvain Berrier has made some big steps with this BMW on his second weekend with this team. And there you go, battle for 11th. Danny Eslick, Hayden Gillum there, David Anthony, who again was part of our profile just there. Jason DeSalvo with his new WD-40 Scheibe Racing BMW S1000 also there. Great to see WD-40 jump on the back of that program. Those guys have made some big headway this weekend also.
169, Hayden Gillum on that cycle worthy. Man with a van and a plan. Getting after it. Now, Eslick and Hayden Gillum, that is actually 4th and 5th with David Anthony Superstock 1000 and 6th in that particular category. But they're also 11th, 12th, and 13th on the racetrack. So Hayden Gillum and his brand new GSXR 1000, his Cycle World entry bike, right there in the middle part of your screen. This is only the 3rd race they've been on that motorcycle. So they actually started the season with the last year's model GSXR 1000. They were late getting that bike as Suzuki brought in GSXR 1000 2017 model. So they're still working on that motorcycle, and Hayden's still getting used to it. And it won't be too long before we see Hayden Gillum right up there close with Matthew Skoltz and Bobby Fong.
He always comes through really late. And here we go. Here's a good look at Bryce Prince. Riding a new bike, new team for him this weekend. The Hudson Motorcycles, those guys stepped in for him. And he's on the Hudson Motorcycles, helmetsounds.com, R1. And I talked to Rocky a little bit earlier on today while we were having lunch, Greg, and he says that they're making some progress with the bike.
They are, and they haven't had a lot of time. They have 1 hour on that bike before they got here.
That's correct. And we saw Bryce riding for a different team for most of the year, and then they've made a small switch over, but he's still on the same brand motorcycle, our 600 Superstock champion from last year, and he's back working out underneath the Tune tent this weekend. So he's back to some familiar places, and he's right on the back of this gigantic battle right now that just in the front is Sylvain Berrier. There he is in 8th place, just ahead of Wyman. So Bryce is right on the back of those guys right now, trying to move himself a little bit forward.
So Kyle Wyman doing a great job right now in this privateer effort. The Decor Brilliance, Lucas Oil KWR, Yamaha R1. And, you know, Kyle Wyman, not only a great rider, but not scared to put together a full-blown Superbike program.
No, absolutely not. Kyle does such a good job, like doing his own thing, his own program, works hard. You know, I thought it was really responsible of him this year. He didn't feel like he could ride, didn't get cleared after an accident when he went over to England and did a Superstock round over at Donington Park and had a fall over. So when we came back, he put Chris Paris on his bike at Road America, and he still played team owner, was still there for his team, and he works very, very hard. And it's good to see Kyle out there riding. I know he's not having the best weekend that he can have. I don't know how many times. I think he was here on a Harley Davidson once, his father told me. So as we look at Tony Elias coming into turn 1, pitching it sideways, it's such a sketchy little area there. You know, you run up alongside that wall a little bit, and they had to make that turn so that turn 1 wasn't as fast, Greg, because they got to slow the riders down just a little bit. And you can see now Josh Hayes
just got around
his way forward and got by Matthew Skoltz. And to be honest with you, I've been watching Jake Lewis a little bit. Jake Lewis has been behind that battle a little further than we thought. And if you look in the background here, you're going to see Matthew Skoltz and Josh Hayes. Then you can see Bobby Fong, and there's Jake Lewis. Jake had lost touch with these guys a little bit, but he just plots along and just puts in his laps. Now, Matthew's going to do everything he can to just hang on the back of Josh Hayes and continue to try to pull away from Bobby.
That's the advantage. That's, you know, and the thing I like about Matt Skoltz is that he knows what's at stake. He's not going to go try race Josh Hayes for an overall podium when he knows that this championship is his right now. He's in control of that championship because, as Chuck Giacchino told me, the plan for next season is to take this team and this rider and make it a full-blown Superbike. So this is Matthew Skoltz's opportunity, as well as the Yamalu Westby Racing team, to prove to Yamaha that they can go out and win a national title.
And they got the right rider for the job. They got the right crew for the job. That team, like I said earlier, is incredible. So if they wanted to move forward, they could. Here we go. Jake Lewis now is on the back of Bobby Fong, and you know, I think that we still got plenty of time. We're halfway done with this race, and Jake Lewis has shown a lot of maturity this year, and I feel like if he gets by Bobby fairly clean, he's still got plenty of time to try to work on that gap up to Matthew Skoltz. And you know, talking with Bobby this morning, he said, you know, Jay, he goes, I could see on my board that Jake was catching me a couple tenths a lap yesterday. He goes, I wasn't trying to push any harder. He said, the old Bobby would have tried to push harder. He said, I would have tried to go, oh my gosh, he's catching me. And I would have tried harder, and then I would have made my mistake. He goes, yesterday, I didn't even think anything about it, because I figured that when Jake got to me, we'd battle it out to the end. It wouldn't be any big stress or anything. He goes, the next thing you know, I was sliding along the ground. And, you know, there's no reason for him to lie to me about that. And here we go again with Cameron Beaubier up front. Still got that. You know, it's got trimmed down to 3.8 seconds that last lap. It was over 4 seconds a lap prior. Now it's at 3.4, Greg.
Yeah,
137.5 to 37 flat. This is what Tony Elias does best. Josh Hayes, 7 seconds behind the leader right now, up to third, taking Skoltz with him. But talking, you know, closing on that moment with Bobby, he has no reason to say anything. You know, if he felt like he was pushing, he would have told me. And he said, I didn't feel like I was doing anything different. Sylvain Berrier comes across our line in 8th place with Josh Herron squeezed in between Jake Lewis and Sylvain Berrier. You can see Berrier now has got himself away from Kyle Wyman, Jake Gagne, Danny Eslick, and then you got Hayden Gillum, and there's David Anthony right on the back now of Jason DeSalvo. I think DeSalvo actually made that pass and got through. So it looked like DeSalvo was maybe trying to do something in the background there. We'll see when they come up with this hill. Yep, Jason was able to slide underneath Hayden Gillum as they went into turn 3. So Danny Eslick on the back of Gagne and Kyle Wyman. Everyone's got somebody to race with. It looks like David Anthony's got a problem. You know, I know David Anthony was ahead of a couple of these guys just now, and I look, yeah, he's lost. Nope, there's David. So maybe Hayden Gillum. It's Hayden Gillum who's got the problem, because I don't see him in our shot anymore.
Nah, he's dropped back. So
he's dropped Gillum. So maybe Hayden's got a problem there. David Anthony did drop back that last lap, but yeah, there's no Hayden Gillum now. So, and I saw Hayden, he's okay. His bike looked like it was coming to a stop through turn 5. But
so Eslick right now, the number 69 bike, he's in 4th spot in that Superstock 1000 championship. You can see the Honda CBR 1000 RR of Jake Gagne on that genuine Broaster Chicken Honda. It is loose. It has been loose all weekend long. The front end and the rear end of the motorcycle just not getting along. And when I went to talk to Jake Gagne about it, he just smiled and said, hey, I like it loose. There's the 169.
Man, I thought for a second he had a flat tire, Greg, but no, he's definitely got something else wrong there. And just cruising back to the pit lane. And there's Tyler O'Hara coming down the hill at us right now. But it looks like, yeah, the Hayden's just got a problem. Yep. We haven't seen this very much from that team and that bike where something's gone wrong. So,
yep, into the pits he goes. So unfortunately, the Cycle World rider, number 169, Hayden Gillum on the Cycle World Suzuki from Kentucky, is out of this race. You can go to cycleworld.com and find out later on what's going on.
Danny Eslick's got past Gagne as well, Greg. So he's continuing to move forward. He's going to be on the back of Kyle Wyman. Jason DeSalvo has closed down a tremendous amount on these guys, because just now he was a little bit further back. And he's closing now up on the back of Jake Gagne and Danny Eslick.
So Jason DeSalvo back in racing here, thanks to the WD-40 Scheibe Racing entry machine, as they have used him a couple of times. And DeSalvo, who is actually working his way into being race fit again. And this is a very physically demanding racetrack. And talking to the riders that hadn't been here before, no place to rest. No place to gather. Yeah, no place to just, you know, gather your thoughts, let alone your breath.
Yeah, no, there's no question. You're exactly right. This place is very, very physical, very difficult. So, yeah. Especially all down through these S's, Greg, and you can see Barry has pulled away from these guys a little bit.
Yep. And so resetting the order for you, it's Cameron Beaubier right now. He comes across the line, and he has, well, he's gotten a couple more tenths of a second back. It's Beaubier, Elias, Hayes and Skoltz.
Oh, Jake Gagne made a mistake. Looked like, these bikes have wheelie control. It looked like something didn't work there for Gagne when he came out of turn 11. So it looked like the thing maybe wheelied on him. You can see him shake his head a little bit, but that's how Danny was able to get by him on the last lap, coming onto the front straightaway. And here you go. Cameron Bovee has responded a little bit, Greg, because that lead had got down to 3.2, like you said, and it's gone back to 3.5 this lap. Cameron was able to dip back down into the 36s this last lap, so he's kind of just controlling.
Yeah, like when he needs to or when he wants to, he can just dip her right back into the 36s.
Yeah, that bike is not moving. It's not doing anything crazy. He's just riding it. Just riding how he needs to ride it. Like you see him just kind of slide the thing back in there. He's got all his friends and family here. Closest race to his house. And this is him coming down into turn 11 just now. And you can see that bike, you can see the fairing and how much it's moving. Those are just bumps. I wouldn't say that is necessarily chatter. That's just bumps coming into that corner.
Chatter looks different.
Yeah,
I mean,
chatter
it's very sharp.
Chatter looks a little different. Exactly right, Craig. But you can see bike gets a little bit loose at the apex of turn 11 as he starts screwing on the gas. And that's going to be because those guys get all the way back down to first gear for that turn.
So Cam Bovee with the fastest lap, that last lap by, as we continue to watch this battle here. It's Skoltz and Fong going after it. But unfortunately, in the Superstock 1000 class, Hayden Gillum is out of it. Hannah?
Yeah, I'm down here with Hayden right now. Really tough luck. Tell us about what happened out there and why you decided to retire from the race.
Yeah, I was running good. I got a lot better start than yesterday, and I was actually running with the guys that I was trying to chase down yesterday. And I've been having some brake fade issues all weekend, and we changed out the fluid and everything before the race. And then right there, 5 laps before I pulled in, all of a sudden it was like the brakes were just hitting the wall. They weren't actually grabbing, and I ran wide a few times and was trying to adjust them, but there was just nothing. There was nothing going on. So I shot off the track on the last lap, and then decided I should just pull in and not toss the bike down the road.
Sounds like a safe decision. We're glad you're okay. Greg, Jason, there you have it.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Hannah. In this place, Greg, there's been a couple riders this weekend that have had brake problems.
This is the place to have it.
This is the place.
Every year we've come here. Every year.
And it's the last place you want them,
I know.
There's so many hard braking areas that you go down all the way to first gear that if you have them, and that's the problem you have. These are 3 class of the year as far as like super stock battles go. These 3 guys have all won races. They've all crashed together. They've done a lot of things together, these 3 guys. And, we've still got, what do we got, Greg? We've still got 6.5 laps to go.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't expect to see this order stay exactly the same. There's going to be some moving around in Jocelyn. It might end up this way, but I don't think it's going to stay this way. And Bobby Fong has done a great job to reel Matthew Skoltz back in. Matthew wasn't able to run up there with Josh Hayes. These guys are all dropped into the 38s except for one guy. Jake Lewis went 37.9 that last lap, so he's still showing me what he kind of showed me yesterday. He's able to keep that pace and run that pace. They've got that GSX-R 1000 working great for Jake and very simple for him to ride.
The Matthew Skoltz on the 11 leads the championship by 46 over this rider, Jake Lewis. So it's important for Lewis to put Skoltz behind him as the races are starting. Well, it looks like Josh Herron is slowing down.
Yeah, it looks like he's got. I'm just looking on the screen to see where Josh was and see how far back he was. I knew he was running in 7th. That lap there is a 41.5, so he's way off the pace. So we saw him looking down.
He kind of ripped the throttle a couple of times, like he was trying to get it in gear or something.
Yeah, you can see the bike moving around quite a bit on Josh, and I'm just trying to listen to it a little bit to see. He's looking back, so he knows he's got a problem, Greg. And
Roy Holster right in front of him out of Napa, California, on that Jelly Belly Napa Valley Racing.
Josh has lost power now.
Yeah.
So it's been just a tough weekend for Josh, and he's got going again. Maybe he was changing maps. He could have been changing maps there, Greg. There could have been something going on, and looks like maybe he just changed the map because the bike looks like it's running okay. And we'll see how it runs down this next straightaway. He's got Danny and Jake Gagne now that have caught up.
And that's for a position on the racetrack. So.
Correct. And he had this position all to himself, but now you can see that Sylvain Berrier has gone by him also in this lap. And we'll see if Josh is able to get that bike kind of rolling along again.
The danger is if something like that happens again with a rider right up his tailpipe.
Correct.
So he's got to at least keep this gap, and Danny Essek knows that as well.
But he's heady enough to know that if there's something wrong, he's going to let people know. And you can see Roy Holster pulling off the track and getting out of these guys' way.
Yep.
But it looks like Josh's bike has got going again.
Josh Herron, yeah.
Josh Herron, that is, which is good. hopefully he can keep that thing going. Jake Gagne trying his best to still try to get by Danny. You see Kyle Wyman. Both these guys got by Kyle Wyman and Jason. So Jason kind of closed up on the back of those guys, and then maybe something happened because he dropped back again.
Yeah, and he had a good race with Sylvain Berrier yesterday, you know, the battle of the BMWs. So
Yes.
Sylvain obviously has been able to find something as he is in 7th spot. As we look at the TOBC Racing, Danny Eslick on the 69 and that genuine Roadster Chicken Honda CBR 1000RR of Jake Gagne. There's Kyle Wyman on that Decor Brilliance Lucas Oil KWR machine. And WD-40 in racing here in the United States with Scheibe Racing, at least for a couple of races. They're looking at the value associated with this series. Very happy. WD-40 actually showed up with a display tent. And
So
were
cool.
able to, you know, showcase their product to thousands of fans that have shown up this weekend.
And WD-40 is really big in the BSB series overseas also. So it's great to see WD-40 get behind our sport and our racing. And you can see Jason's doing a fantastic job here. I know he's been out of it for a little while, but doesn't look like he's missed a beat. I mean, for this guy to come in and he's already on the 2nd row, I know he's got a lot of experience around this track. And like you said, he's going to start getting himself more race fit, more race ready. This started off as kind of a one-off deal at VIR, and then it's changed. He took the place of Sylvain Berrier, who was hurt at Road Atlanta, and it's great to see Jason back in the paddock again, and especially with a new sponsor.
So Jason DeSalvo, former national champion in road racing, getting after Kyle Wyman. As Wyman running around right now in 11th spot, had a better result yesterday, but you know, one of the things with Superbikes is we look at these Superstock 1000 competitors, same motorcycles you can buy off the showroom floor, the Kawasaki ZX-10RR and the GSXR 1000. The difference with the Superbike, a lot more adjustability and a lot more modifications you can do to those motorcycles, which help to create more horsepower as well.
Yep, and I would love to see all 3 of these guys on proper Superbikes. I mean, all 3 of them deserve to be. We saw Jake Lewis signed for the Yoshimura team. He was on the Yoshimura team, got hurt, wasn't able to ride. That's how Tony ended up getting signed with Yosh. And then we got Jake now, you know, riding for M4 and doing just such an awesome job. But all 3 of these guys would be great Superbike riders, don't you reckon?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
And we'll see Matthew hopefully next year on that, like you said earlier.
Yeah. The question is, what's Kawasaki going to do? A lot of value associated with the Quicksilver latest motorsports team. Is Kawasaki going to step up and come back to MotoAmerica road racing and help support? Because there is an extra cost associated with running a Superbike versus a Superstock 1000 machine. It's not as much as people think. It's not an extra couple $100,000, but it's definitely got some zeros attached to it. And George Lattis and the Quicksilver latest motorsports team need a little bit of help in order to take Bobby Fong to the full-blown Superbike grid. But still, right now, it's all about this year, as Bobby Fong has had a lot of success on this motorcycle. 5 wins so far this season for Fong, and 3 second-place finishes. It's just those DNFs.
Yep.
It's those DNFs that have really held Bobby Fong to 63 points back from Matthew Skoltz.
Yep, that's exactly right. Because and all of Bobby's accidents have been very similar. Just really a shame to see him lose the front like he does. And hopefully he can just get a handle on what exactly is going on. I'm watching his bike. To me, his bike looked better this weekend than I've seen it look at other places. And he's matured a lot as a rider. We've seen him just put in some incredible rides throughout the course of the year. But you kind of see this little accordion effect right now. Matthew's able to pull away in certain spots, and then Bobby and Jake kind of run him back in other spots on the track. So these guys coming out of the carousel right now. Jake just hasn't been close enough to do what he needs to do to get up alongside Bobby into any one of our braking zones right now. But you can see how sideways his bike is. We talked about that this morning, and he just wishes it wasn't like that. He was just out there far enough where Jake thought about it, you know. And yeah, so you can see Tony Elias going back through some traffic there. He's right in now behind Barrett Long, and there's Tony right now.
Jeremy Coffey as well out of Vancouver on the Superbike Underground machine. So here comes Tony.
Yeah.
Is he going to get held up? I mean, at this point, with the lead he has over Josh Hayes, it's not going to really crush his effort.
Look, the thing is that Tony's going to learn from this weekend is he just had a really bad qualifying run. That was really the end of it. I mean, had he been up on that front row with Cameron, we could have seen a different story. Not in the fact that Cameron may or may not have won, but I think we would have seen Tony a lot closer. It's just a little bit too much work to do coming from the 3rd row here at Sonoma. And when you got a guy like Cameron Beaubier, who's just so dialed in this weekend as he comes up over the top of turn 4. When you're as dialed in as this guy is, you know, 2-time defending Superbike champion as well, you know, a veteran really at this point with winning championships in other classes as well as our most premier class, you can't give him that big of an advantage. It's just too hard to go through the people you have to go through to get there.
And given Cameron Beaubier bits and pieces, you know, to get better as a Monster Energy Yamaha factory team is working hard to make sure he's as comfortable as possible. This might be it, though, because Cam Beaubier can go on a run, Jason. I mean,
oh, absolutely, he can, yes.
Now, the advantage, of course, for a guy like Tony Elias is these next races that we go to, as Beaubier goes around
Matthew
47 to Matthew Orange out of California, is that we have been, you know, Tony and his team have been to all the racetracks because we were testing at Pittsburgh, and then we have New Jersey, and of course Barber Motorsports Park wraps up the season in the middle of September.
Yep. Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And this guy can go on a run. I mean, when we went to the Pittsburgh test, the guy right now who's running in 4th, Matthew Skoltz, was quickest overall on a super stock bike. So again, you're going to see super stock battles going and going through that races. We're looking at 3 laps to go right now, 2 laps to go now, I believe, for Cameron.
That was the pit board. That's the information the riders get. No radios. So in that one, it was letting him know what his lead was over Tony Elias. And actually, that's grown to 7.9 seconds as Tony just methodically picking his way through traffic. And Jake Lewis has gotten around Bobby Fong. So now Lewis getting closer to Matthew Skoltz to try to do the double on this one.
And he's right there, and they're in traffic. So, you know, again, this is kind of what I expected at the beginning from Jake. He's just so good at running those consistent lap times over and over
and he's right again on the back of Skoltz, Jason.
He's right there. And like we said, Matthew's got some traffic in front of him, and these guys are going to get by. Hopefully, you can see Matthew got through. Now Jake got through as they go up over into the carousel here. And Matthew's going to get stuck once more.
Yep.
See if these 2 guys get out of the way. And Bobby just got hung up pretty bad there in the carousel himself. But here we go. Matthews got Barrett Long right smack in front of him.
He's got to time this one just right because these riders racing their own race. So there goes Skoltz on the 11. He's going to get on the brakes. Lewis gets by the lap traffic. So no damage done there.
Because Jeremy Coffey right there, he's running his race against a Barrett, you know. So he doesn't know who's behind him right this second. And this is all very tricky. These guys are going to slide by Jeremy, I believe, as they head down into turn 9. You'll probably see both those guys outbreak him. And there you go.
Yeah, they basically just outdrove him. Oh, no, Jake.
Oh, it's going to hurt him.
That is definitely going to hurt him. He's got to square it up and get up the inside here because this could be disaster for Jake Lewis. Trying to get around lap traffic again. He got hurt yesterday with the overall podium. Now Jake Lewis gets by, but there's that couple of bike lengths, which means Lewis on this final lap as they go to take the white flag is going to have to take more risk to close down the gap.
Oh, Bobby Fong got hauled up now. So, you know, just how it goes. These guys are racing their own race as well, and it's difficult, but Bobby's going to probably get hung up now all the way up through turn 5, and that's going to be his race.
So in the Superstock 1000 battle, this is for the top step on the podium. It's Matthew Skoltz who leads the way. With a shot at it, though, is number 85, Jake Lewis. Yamalube Westby Racing Yamaha versus M4 X-Star Suzuki.
And Jake knows that if he can come in here and do the double and win both races, that's going to be, you know, it could be a psychological impact. Although I think it's pretty hard to rough up Matthew Skoltz. He's a very, very smart guy, very heady rider. Never seen this place before Thursday. And he had this thing figured out by first practice on Friday. Jake Lewis right now has got a great run on him, Greg, as they go down into turn 7.
Here we go. Can Lewis get down on the brakes? No, he's going to fall behind him, but you can see Lewis. It looks like he's trying to set up for the drive out of this section into the S's.
He's got to try to do something with him down through these S's, going down into turn 9, Greg. If he can get through this next left-right complex the way he needs to get through and get a drive on him down through here, which he's got, he's going to try to do something with him in turn 9, but no, Skoltz is just too good.
Here comes Cameron Beaubier, the final corner to negotiate. He's going to navigate through it. He shakes his head, and he puts the front wheel in the air and will take the win here at Sonoma Raceway, his second of the weekend. Congratulations, Cam Beaubier. What a victory. Here comes Tony Elias. And then we await the arrival of Josh Hayes. And here comes that battle in Superstock. And it will go to Matthew Skoltz.
Jake Lewis and then Bobby Fong, huh?
Yeah, so able to hold off Jake Lewis by 1/10 of a second. And And Bobby Fong able to finish this race with a podium, and a little bit upset with lap traffic, but as we know, that's the way it goes. And finishing this race is going to be Josh Herron, who had problems, but still able to work his way past Sylvain Berrier and finish in 7th spot.
Yep, Sylvain Berrier 8th, and then Jake Gagne 9th, Danny Eslick 10th, and Jason DeSalvo. You know, you always look down there. There's always going to be somebody going to run off the track, and Jason, it was Jason this time. But he ends up finishing 11th today. Kyle Wyman 12th. Looking a little bit further back, we're waiting. David Anthony comes across the line. Bryce Prince should be our next finisher. I see him coming out of turn 11 right now. But what can you say about Cameron Beaubier, Greg? It's an incredible weekend for him.
The Northern California resident, this is his home track, and he does it in front of, like you said, family and friends, and he is extremely pumped. Cam Beaubier has had a rough season, to say the least. Even though he's 3rd in the points, he's now going to be 70 points adrift of Tony Elias, who was able to go from the 3rd row and finish 2nd on this one. For Cam Beaubier, that's going to be his 4th race win of the season, half the tally that his championship rival Tony Elias has already. And with 150 points available total the rest of the season, it's going to be tough for Cam Beaubier, but he's certainly going to give it a go. Word is that Jake Gagne, who finished 9th place, crashed on the cool-down lap.
Wow. I hope he's okay. So that's crazy.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know. I saw him come across the line. I saw him go through turn 1. So it's just a matter of, I guess, where he fell and how it happened. And sometimes on these cool-off laps, you can be congratulating somebody or doing whatever, just maybe not paying attention to what's going on in front of you. Hopefully that's nothing that happened, but I've seen it happen plenty of times. We've seen a few guys crash on cool-off laps over the year.
Well, actually,
over the years.
Last time we were here, in 2014 for the Superbike shootout, Cameron Beaubier won the race here at Sonoma Raceway, and on the cool-down lap,
crash where he's at now.
Crash where he's at right now. You can find that on BN Sports, on BN Motor, as Cameron talked about it. We're going to take a break here on BN Sports. On the other side, we congratulate Cameron Beaubier, and we talk to him. So you don't want to go anywhere, because a dominant performance as he wins by 7.22 seconds to take the double here this weekend. Wheel in the air for Cam.